The absence of having minorities, African Americans, in the corporate world, in great part is due to the fact that, like anything else, we haven't been exposed to it. We don't know what it's like or what it's about. An example of that is my father, who was born in 1913. I was in the paper with Jack Cassidy, our former CEO, and my nickname is Butch, and my dad looked at that. He said, look at Butch and his boss, because he could not conceive of a black man being the boss. That Jack worked for me, worked for the board. And those things are troubling and not easy.
My first clear understanding of what it meant to be African American in corporate America began at about day 2. So day 1 was wonderful. A lot of people greeted me, and it was quite nice. Day 2 is when I came to understand that there were only 3 other African Americans in the building who were professionals, and then there were a number of African Americans as support people. But I started being called by the other 2 people's names. So I thought for a minute, well, I'm new, so people don't necessarily know my name. But that continued for about 7 years. So it was quite interesting. And I know what the phenomenon is. It happens when people are not exposed to people who are much different than they. Then all those people who are different begin to look alike. So that's why the brain will do things like have people be called by other names. Nonetheless, it still erodes your sense of belonging.
During that time, many banks had manager trainee programs, and I was accepted into the manager trainee program. There was an orientation of all the new manager trainees that were coming into the bank. I was the only African American in my class of trainees and the only female. So I was in a room with all white males in blue suits. So all eyes shifted to me because, as you know, banking for a long time was a male-dominated industry. But I didn't feel intimidated. I felt confident that no matter who was around me, I had a purpose in that bank and I was placed there for a reason.
Oftentimes, the issues that you're dealing with go unnoticed. For instance, I would have to bill 1,900 hours, but still would represent the firm at these diversity conferences to bring new diverse talent or interview students from different colleges. But you still want me to bill 1,900 hours with all this, and none of my white colleagues have to deal with that. And so, oftentimes it's kind of one of those strains we call the black tax, which I love doing that kind of work. But the problem is you're not compensated for it.
It's important for you to understand how to be successful and what it takes to be successful. It's also important for you to stay true to yourself. So I feel like there's a fine line and there's a middle that you can find. I wear this bracelet, so whenever I have to do something that I feel like I need to have courage for, so the bracelet says WWHD. What would he do? What would a white man do? He's gonna demand more. He's gonna request more. He's gonna command. Why are you making yourself small, right? So it's kind of like the way that I give myself that pep talk, because as I've raised or kind of moved up in corporate America, the room has gotten less and less diverse, right? Generally, I am the only black person in the room. If I'm lucky, there might be 2 or 3 other white females. But generally, I'm the only black female in the room, and I've had to get comfortable with that. And you always have that kind of internal back and forth going, don't be the angry black woman. Say what you need to say. Be assertive. Are you sure you're assertive? Like you're talking to yourself as you're talking sometimes. And then whenever I do that, I'm like, wait, no, he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't care. He'd be like, I want you to do this. This is what we're going to do. There would be no delay, no hesitation, no pause. But as a black female, you kind of shrink yourself. And so this is like, Erica, don't shrink yourself. Stand up tall.